Welcome to Divine Love Talk with Dr. Parthenia Grant, where we talk about health, well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
I am so excited to be back today on Divine Love Talk with Ben Stewart, who is my favorite director of all time and my favorite documentary, Kymatica. He is also the lead singer of Hierosonic. Tell him what that means, Ben.
Hiero stands for sacred, like hieroglyphics, and sonic is vibration, noise, or sound. So it's basically sacred vibration.
Wow. And we also have back this week Kim Michaels, my co-host and expert on the ego and spirituality. Kim, I'm so happy to have you back, and I'm just thrilled to introduce you to this young man who actually has done amazing work in spreading the word out there about the ego not being your amigo. So welcome back, Kim Michaels, and say hello to Ben Stewart.
Thank you, and hello, Ben. I looked at your documentary, and it looks very, very good. I like it a lot.
Thank you very much. It's very good to make this connection.
I also am I'm so excited to hear that Ben is working with another favorite author of mine, David Icke. Who has done so much courageous work to bring, to expose a lot of the hidden esoteric agendas that are out there. And I know you also, with your documentary, Esoteric Agenda, you did some very, very courageous work. So in this hour, we will be talking about the creative genius within. We'll also be talking about Ben's new music video, Infinity, which, Eric, were you able to pull that up? Okay, he's going to be able to pull that up. We'll be able to hear Infinity and how truly gifted Ben Stewart is, not only as a filmmaker and writer, but as a singer and lyricist and performer. I got to hear you and see you perform at Zeitgeist last year.
That's right.
at the festival, and I so wanted to have you on the show last year, but you're so busy. That's why I'm so grateful to have you here today to talk about your work. So will we be able to hear the song? So let's just break right into the song, awesome. Infinity, and you'll be shooting the music video out in the desert tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And would you tell the audience the premise of the music video?
Well, basically it's a desert scene, and we're really just going for great cinematography. So there's going to be fire spinners, fire poi they call it, dancers, gypsy-esque. Obviously a big fire, a drum circle around that, so it's a time lapse from morning to morning, and basically it's going to be all about cycles of time and all about coming together and uniting under the force of love. But the song is about the soul uniting with the individual, and it's one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song on the entire album.
And I love it as well. Eric, if you could play the song for us, I'd like to share how amazing your voice is.
The mind will clear it all out. The time makes things better. There's nothing to worry about. The clock works to the letter, and the heart may erase it, but the soul remembers everything. I know you feel all alone. I've felt the same forever. We can feel the same on our own, or we can feel the same together. I will love you to infinity. 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 Burn your kingdom down. Please don't leave me out. alone. It will fade and be forgotten, and the world may erase it, but the soul remembers everything. Burn your kingdom down. Please don't leave me out. Burn your kingdom down. Please don't leave me
Okay, you're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN with Dr. Parthenia Grant and my amazing guest, Ben Stewart, the lead singer of Hierosonic and director of Kymatica, will be back with more of the creative genius within and Kim Michaels. Thank you. Oh, okay. I thought we were going to commercial break. You held up the 60 seconds. I thought that went really fast. All right. Well, we're back. Now, Kim Michaels, could I bring you in? When I was listening to that song, it reminded me of the love of the divine and how we are loved into infinity. And I'm just so excited to have a young voice out there being the change that he wants to see in the world and who is captivating young people. So, Kim, could I get your comment on the song?
You're saying I'm not young anymore?
Well, you and I are a little old school.
Old school, huh? Okay. No, I like the song, and I like what I've seen of Ben's work so far. I mean, it is, as you said, it's the young people that are going to carry the revolution in thought, because too many of the older people are so stuck in their ways that they're just not likely to change their minds in this lifetime, you know. And so I very much am excited when I see young people who have understood the message that's coming across in the movie also, that it's all about oneness and going beyond the dualistic mindset. And I think that's very well portrayed in the movie.
And Kim, I just think that there are not enough of us out there who are educating ourselves and those who have ears to hear about the ego. And the documentary that that Ben did just touched my heart, because I felt this simpatico when I first saw it and I heard your voice, and I thought, wow, somebody else gets it out there, and it's a young person. So that is truly amazing to me. And I wanted you to just go in very quickly to talk about David Icke's new show. Mm-hmm. It's called The People's Voice.
Yes.
And you're going to have your own show.
Weekly show.
Yeah. So, and it's a network, I think, he's trying to put together.
Yeah, so from what I gather of the intention that he has is he raised well over 200,000 pounds in a short amount of time, and he has a lot of great support from around the world. So the network is really just it's the same thing. It's going to be a TV station. He's starting a radio station, and there's going to be entertainment, news, anything you'd find on normal TV, but the sole intention of the awakening of people. So waking people up to their own potential, waking people up to the fact that they are the artist of their own life, and we're not scripted by somebody else or something else.
And I just think it's time for that. And it's also a sign of the times that David Icke is able to get this kind of support, because he's been out there in the trenches for decades. I've been following his work, and the media, the mainstream media, has really given him a hard time. As I'm sure you probably got some backlash with Kymatica, because you really put it out there. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I take that as a compliment, because when you reach people, you're going to get all different types of reactions. You know,
Yes.
I mean, say the blatant, honest truth to anybody and watch the reaction. You know, most people are living under the guise of what they think they are and where they think they're going. And when they're slapped in the face with reality, a lot of the times, unless you really have trained yourself to be able to roll with the punches, a lot of people, they take it personally, because you're shattering their own idea of their own self-worth.
Yes.
And really, all I try to do with my work is point out that self-worth is within all of us. It's about discovering what it actually is. We create our own lives. That's why I always get into art and the importance of art. We are the artists of our own lives. Every single day we have all of the paints to paint ourselves onto the canvas of the day. And most people, they don't take responsibility for that. So that's all I'm doing is showing people, no, there's nobody else that's scripting your life. It's you. Take responsibility for it.
Well, Kim, one of the things I love about your work and Ben's work is that theme about how our ego uses fear as the adrenaline to keep us in a reactive mode and in a blame mode. And that's what I've been learning from the voluminous amount of work that you have, Kim, and the work that I've been doing in not being reactive when you get attacked by what Kim calls it the power elite, and I think that's a very good term. But Kim, can you very quickly elucidate on fear and how we can, what we can do to help not be so reactive when we're being attacked?
Well, we can realize that fear is the primary means that is being used, whether you want to see it as something outside yourself or something inside yourself, to keep you in line with what you've been doing before. Now, Ben said it very well. Every day we have the opportunity to decide what do we want to paint on the canvas of life today. And the most important thing about the spiritual teachings is that they make it very clear that you are not bound by what happened yesterday or what you did 10 days ago or 10 years ago or 10 lifetimes ago. You can actually remake yourself every day, but that is precisely what your ego doesn't want you to do, and that's also what the power elite doesn't want you to do, because they want to control you, both the ego and the power elite, and they can only control what's predictable.
Yes.
And you are only predictable if you keep doing today what you've done in the past. That's how they get you.
Okay, well spoken. I also want to very quickly announce that you can find Ben on Facebook at Ben Stewart on Facebook. And how do you spell the name of your group?
Sorry.
Hierosonic.
Hierosonic. Hierosonic.
Okay, and Ben will be performing live with Hierosonic at the Whiskey A Go Go. Is it still on Sunset?
Yes.
Yeah, on the 2nd.
Friday, yes.
Friday. So make sure you catch him there, and at the Zeitgeist Media Festival on August 4th. We'll be back with more of Divine Love Talk, Ben Stewart and Kim Michaels, after commercial break, where we'll be talking about the creative genius within and how you can free that spirit. Okay, we're back with Divine Love Talk on CRN with Dr. Parthenia Grant and my guest, Ben Stewart, director of Kymatica and the lead singer of Hierosonic. We're talking about the creative genius within and exploring how you can discover that artist within you. And so let's start with your personal journey, Ben, as an artist, and your career and how it's been evolving, and your intentions with your music.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, to me, it all started with music. I started playing piano when I was really young, living in Hawaii, and then I moved on to drums So drums and percussion is really close to my heart. And I just had this really innate understanding of rhythm and melody on top of that. And there's just something that it moved me. And there's no way to explain how it moves you. And I think, anyone who grew up listening to Pink Floyd and some of the classics, they know that music is such a motivator and it inspires.
Absolutely.
So I was doing music for years and years. I was in the military for 6 years. I was actually in the Air Force for 6 years. And that was when I began seeing the world and realizing, okay, do I want to put all of my time and energy of my life into a force that I have no say in what goes on, and I'm not allowed to know why we're going into these countries doing whatever we're doing.
Right.
So I was like, no, I want to pursue my dream with music. So I started doing that, but I started then speaking in the lyrics about what I noticed about the world through the military. And somebody asked me, what are the lyrics about? What's your message about in the band? So I decided, instead of telling them, what does an artist do? Makes a piece of art that explains it. It was supposed to be a 15-minute film having to do with the message of the band. It turned into a 2-hour film called Esoteric Agenda, having nothing to do with the band. And I was just like, after 6 months of working on the film, I was like, okay, this is not what I expected. Let me just put it up on Google Videos and YouTube and see what happens. And it's history from there. It went viral.
Totally, because that was the first film of yours that I saw and was sharing in critical thinking classes, and recognized your voice when I heard it on Kymatica, but couldn't remember, because I've done so many documentaries. Where did that voice come from?
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer in art as a means of salvation, and music does have, it's just the universal language. I travel all over the world, and I will hear, I heard this band on the top of the world in Hong Kong singing Motown. They couldn't speak any English, but they sang Motown with no accent.
That's awesome.
And it just touches the heart of the population. So what would you say your message as a singer is?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to just waking up to realizing that we are the artists of our lives. That's the sole intention, is to allow people to recognize that. So the beautiful thing about art is when you're listening to music or you're witnessing a painting or a sculpture or something like that, you're seeing the end result of art. But what it reminds you of is the process, and that's Taoism. Tao is the way, and it's not speaking about the destination. It's
the
speaking
journey.
about the journey, the process of it, because this is an ever-evolving process of our lives, and we hand it on to the next generation. So what's beautiful about music is you can encapsulate a story. Like in a movie, there's always Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. The same thing with music. You start people with something familiar, you sit them in a pocket, and then you depart from it, create tension, and then you resolve it. And that's, to get into it,
in 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes. And that's a story. And honestly, that's recognizable to everybody, because that's actually what sex is. You start with a rhythm, you create tension, and then you resolve it.
Oh,
and
that's a beautiful analogy.
And everyone recognizes that because we were all born through the beautiful force of sex.
Absolutely.
So so these are reoccurring themes and reoccurring processes that happen throughout our lives. Music, art, all of these things, they remind us of our nature, that this is not something that where we're looking for the final goal, the golden nugget at the end of the trail. No, it's a process. You appreciate every moment, every step of the way.
And every step becomes infinity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Kim, I'm just in awe of the volume of work that you put in, and writing and public speaking. That is your art, and you lose yourself in it. And seeing Kim just go into what we call in writing stream of consciousness, and everything comes out just perfect, and his books are just perfect. Kim, I'd like to bring you in after a commercial break about the creative process that you get into and how it actually energizes you, where most people will be really, really tired with the volume of work that Kim puts out. You are listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm Dr. Parthenia Grant. I'm very honored to have Ben Stewart in studio right now, and I'm equally honored to have Kim Michaels back as my co-host and expert on the ego and spirituality. We're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I am Dr. Parthenia Grant with my host, Ben Stewart, director of Kymatica and lead singer of the band Hierosonic, right? And Kim Michaels, my co-host and expert on the ego and spirituality. And Kim, we were talking about the creative process and how we tap in. So in this segment, I want to talk about that. And also, Kim, you're very good about the 4 lower bodies and the importance of balancing them and integrating them into one whole. And what I'm very impressed with Ben about is the fact that he gets it, you know, that we have a physical body, a mental, an emotional, and a spiritual body. And you're one of those young people who's tapped in enough to know that if you're going to be a clear channel, you've got to nourish and take care of the physical body so that you will have a lot more emotional clarity. And I understand you actually did a 40-day fast, so we'll talk about that in this segment. But before we do that, Kim, let's talk about your process as you are tapping into the creative flow of things. But before I do, you said something beautiful on commercial break about the stream and.
Oh, well, you were mentioning how you know, can do that effortlessly without exerting himself, and I just said it sounds like, you know, the flow of a river. You know, when you're floating down a river, it's effortless. It's only when you're trying to control where you go in that river that you're really exerting yourself. So we are the receivers of life. We're not controlling it. We're here to witness it.
Wow, that's beautiful. So Kim, could you share a part of your creative process with us and move into balancing the 4 lower bodies?
Yeah, well, for me, all art and creativity builds on one basic fact, and that is we are spiritual beings. We have taken on these very physical bodies, which on planet Earth, they're very dense. Planet Earth is a very dense planet. And if you want a visual illustration, think about one of these old-time diving suits, this big rubber suit with this big brass helmet. Yeah. There's only a little round window on the front. And when you're wearing that helmet, you're under the water and feeling the pressure of the water. That's what we go through when our spirit comes into embodiment. We have such a narrow perspective while we're in embodiment. We see only a very narrow window of reality, and many times we forget that we're spiritual beings. So to me, creativity and art is about reminding us that we are still spiritual beings, and that there is something more, just like Ben said, that stream of life that's constantly flowing. See, when we are in the body, we have this perspective. We think that this planet is real. It has some kind of substance, some kind of solidity, some kind of permanence. But it wouldn't be there if it wasn't constantly being sustained by a flow of energy from the spiritual realm. And so those of us who are able to tap into that flow, we are what I would call creative people. And we remind ourselves and we remind others that that flow is the backdrop. No matter how solid things seem in this world, it's just like the set pieces in a theater. None of it is real. None of it has real permanence. And we have the potential to tap into that creative stream all the time. And the way we do that, of course, is not some kind of magic or hocus pocus. We have, as you said, Parthenia, we have 4 levels of the mind, or 4 lower bodies. There's a physical level of the mind that basically runs the body. And we don't need to be consciously aware of what makes our heart beat and those kind of things. But then there's the emotional mind, where a lot of people have accumulated a lot of low-frequency energy, anger, fear. We talked about fear earlier, and science has shown us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So when we go into anger or fear, some of that energy accumulates in the emotional body, and it blocks our connection to our spiritual selves. It causes us to forget. And it also causes us to go into what we talked about earlier with the reactionary patterns, because we think that whatever negative energy is directed at us in this world, we have to somehow respond to it. And you were describing it yourself, how you have come to that conclusion that I think all spiritual people have come to, that we don't actually have to respond emotionally to everything that's thrown at us. And that's when you can come to that point where you just say, oh, well, so what? I don't need to respond to this.
Right.
And then we have the thought body, the mental body, where we accumulate a lot of beliefs and ideas about the world and what the world is like and what we can't do, especially what we can't do. And that's again something that we clear out by studying a variety of things, including spiritual teachings. So I'm rambling on here, but the most important of the bodies is actually the highest one, which is the identity body. And that's where, because the four bodies form like a hierarchical structure, and the identity body is the first one that the energy from our spiritual selves enter. And so if you believe that you are nothing but a human being, you are an evolved monkey, or you are a sinner by nature, that sets the tone for everything that happens in your thought process and in your feelings. And that's why so many people believe they can't break out of the mold, they can't start a new life, and that's why they spend their whole lives responding to these negative emotional projections that are coming at us from all sides. And people are just prisoners of their emotional and mental bodies because they haven't really looked at, who am I? Mm-hmm. And just like Ben was saying, it was beautifully described, do I want to spend the rest of my life in the military doing something I ultimately have no control over, or do I want to tap into my creative drive? And that's the potential we all have.
Okay, that was thank you, that was thorough.
Thank you, that was beautiful.
Yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but I know that Ben's, in Kymatica, you talk about consciousness and how that is the real creative force in the universe. And the one thing that I've learned on this journey is coming into the world a sickly child and having lupus, you're not real clear when your physical body is aching and you're in pain and you're sick. And it wasn't until I figured out on my own that the doctors couldn't save me and I was going to have to figure this out, that I went totally organic, started juicing, growing my own garden, that I was able to heal my body. But the other thing that I've learned as I've been going along is how stress and reacting to other people's negativity, no matter how well I eat, if I'm reacting to my environment and reacting to attacks, it makes me physically sick. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to throw it to you.
Well,
Ben Stewart.
No, I think that's beautiful. There's two things that I would say about that. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very important, obviously, to be eating well and to understand how to take care of your physical body, because that's really that's a testament to our feelings of self-worth.
Yes. It is our temple.
Oh, absolutely. And so, I've done mountains of study and practice on how to respect the body. And what I realized that one thing that poisons any diet, no matter what you're doing, is compulsory morality, placing these fictional lines and judgments around what you think you should be doing. So if somebody eats a piece of cake and they punish themselves mentally, emotionally for it, it's a double whammy. Exactly. They're A, not enjoying it, and B, anybody can eat cake and be fine. But the bottom line is, it's how we do it. It's the balance that we do it in, and not placing these fictional moral lines around everything. Because again, I think Ken was saying it. We are much more infinite than we give ourselves credit for. So when we give those moral lines around everything that we do, then we're punishing ourselves and saying, no, I can't do that. This is what I have to do. And what did we say about being on the flow of life?
Right.
So what I noticed,
it takes you out of the flow.
Exactly. What I noticed with my own health was there's no right or wrong way to do it, except for exactly what feels the most
in tune to your body,
in tune to you at that moment. Because I've had it before where I've eaten meat, and I've go through periods where I will eat meat. I make sure that I appreciate the process that the animal has gone through, and then I'll go through times where it's 100% raw foods. Mm-hmm. And I did 40 days of raw food when I got done with my 3-month tour over in Europe. My body needed it. and it needed that live, vibrant, living food, and that was when I got into
vegetarian based, right?
Partially, yeah. I mean, I did eat raw eggs here and there just because I had heard about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I was getting into Tai Chi and also Qine Song and a bunch of different ways of just moving naturally, allowing you because Tai Chi, you're learning how to move your body properly,
and the flow of energy.
Absolutely, and so what I wanted to learn about that is, like, when you're just washing the dishes and you bend over to pick up a dish, are you moving your body correctly?
Okay.
Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times of bending over incorrectly at the age of 29, 30.
Or sitting incorrectly.
It's not going to hurt you, but when you do it repetitively throughout your entire life, you're impressing that into your subconscious that this is how you move, this is how you do it, and your body forgets how we naturally move as a child and how animals move, and that's what Tai Chi is. It's moving like animals. It's the natural, most powerful way to use the earth, and this is all martial arts. Use the earth to draw that energy up and express that through the hands. So Bruce Lee can do a 1-inch punch and break through 3-inch thick boards.
Right.
How? It's not him throwing his 20-pound arm at those boards. It's harnessing the energy from the earth, transferring it through the legs, through the hip, all the way through the back, and then into the hands. And that's how we do everything in life. We are, again, a receiver of all the abundant energy outside of us. So when I'm making music, I don't try. I just do it. I just open myself to it. And, I can't take credit for any of the songs or any of the films that I've done because they just happen.
And I can tell, we were talking about it's about the feeling as an artist, that you tap into and that you actually are projecting. And I know that as a writer and an artist, anything that I do with passion and enthusiasm, that the audience, when I'm speaking, the audience will connect with me. When I'm writing, the audience will connect with me.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I found most fascinating about art is it's really about the delivery and not the content. And we were speaking about that before. But the reason why I love that is because you can change somebody's life by believing what you say and being enthusiastic about it and inspiring them. Now, interestingly enough, you can inspire somebody to change their life by saying 99.9% unfounded facts or things that aren't true. It's not about the content or the material that you're delivering. If you believe it, they see it in your eyes, because it's not about the language. When you are a child, innately you read body language and eye contact. It doesn't matter what
animals
words.
Do too. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what words you put to it. The words are just an auxiliary carrier of what your body and your eye contact is already doing. So when a child sees mom and going like, "Ah, my beautiful little baby," she's looking, or the child is looking at the eyes and the body language and being, that is a loving expression. That is a gesture of love and compassion.
Absolutely.
Any words that she puts to that, that's what's going to represent it temporarily in this incarnation, in this body.
But it's the feeling.
Exactly. It's the feeling. So the thing is it doesn't matter how, like, you can say somebody, like, you have an argument with your lover. It's like, well, fine, I'm sorry. Do you believe that?
No.
No, you don't believe, oh, I'm sorry. No, but when somebody's like, listen, from the heart, I did not mean to make you feel that way. You say it genuinely. It's not the words that you're listening to, because it's the same thing that was said 2 seconds ago that you didn't believe.
Right.
It's the feel.
Absolutely.
And that's all that art is. Pink Floyd does it without even saying any words sometimes, where you just, oh man, I know exactly what David Gilmour was getting at with that guitar solo in Comfortably Numb, because it gives me goosebumps.
Right.
And that's the feel. That's the vibe. You can't explain what David Gilmour was getting at. There's no reason to put it into words. He already said it with his guitar. It's all about the feel. It's the delivery of the art.
And to me, that's the, truth of it, the honesty of it, and the integrity of it, and the intention. So when you go at anything with from your heart, with integrity and the intent to share your truth with the world, it is a blessing. It's a gift. And Kim, I know that a lot of your work is about pure intent. So maybe you have something to say about that.
Well, it's perfectly true, because the ego is so good at putting up conflicts and perceived conflicts, where you have, just like Ben was saying, you have some kind of agenda, a moral judgment or some other kind of judgment you're imposing upon yourself, and you're not really living that way. And that's what the ego does, is forces us into these reactionary patterns. And really what I have always felt is exactly what Ben was saying. We need to connect to that, the genuine aspect inside ourselves, and that's the spirit. And when I write, or when I take the messages I take from the Ascended Masters, I just step into a neutral state of mind, and I'm sort of just watching the process happen. And we just had a recent conference here in Novosibirsk in Russia, and in Almaty in Kazakhstan, and you go up on the stage in front of 100 people, and you are taking a message from an Ascended Master, but I have absolutely no idea what is going to be said. And the message lasts for 45 minutes. And as you said, Parthenia, I'm more energized after standing up, talking, projecting my voice for 45 minutes than I was before. And it's just not something you can produce with the outer mind, you know, and it's not something mechanical. And that to me is the beauty. I mean, that's art, you know, that is just such a wonderful feeling of feeling that flow of energy and spirit.
Yeah, well, you are listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm honored to have Ben Stewart, director of Kymatica and the lead singer of Hierosonic, in studio, and Kim Michaels as my co-host. We will be back wrapping this up about the artist within. And be sure and check out Ben with his music video Infinity, and Whiskey A Go Go on the 2nd, and at the Zeitgeist Music Festival on the 5th?
August 4th.
August 4th.
At the Avalon.
Yeah, definitely want to be there. Okay, we're back wrapping this up with my amazing honorary guest, Ben Stewart, the director of Kymatica and the lead singer of Hierosonic, who will be performing live at Whiskey A Go Go on Sunset Friday, August 2nd, and he will also be performing with his band at the Zeitgeist Media Festival on August 4th at the Avalon in Hollywood. So you definitely want to come out and meet this amazing young man and share in his music and his vision. And we're so looking forward to what you're going to be doing with David Icke. I'm so excited about that. And any way that I can help with that project, count me in.
You're in.
Kim, I would like for you to, before I let Ben wrap this up, share a closing remark about creativity and the artist within, or whatever you want to leave the audience with.
Well, the thought that came to me during break here was there's a Star Wars movie where Luke Skywalker is being taught by Yoda, and Yoda makes this wonderful remark: you must unlearn what you have learned.
Wow.
And what came to me was that you can't teach the flow of the spirit, which is the essence of creativity, but you can unteach, you can unlearn what blocks the flow of the spirit.
Wow. That's beautiful. Now, Benjamin Stewart, what would you like to leave the audience with besides this beautiful legacy of films and music which you continue to share with us?
Well, you know, obviously we all have our own path, and what I'm doing, what Kim's doing, what you're doing, these are our own individual paths. But to find your own, and you know, I think Jim Morrison probably said it best. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but if more people would look at life as if we were on a playground rather than serving a sentence on a prison yard, then we would experiment more. We would get up when we fall down and just dust ourselves off and recognize that this is just a playground. We're here to experiment, play around. That's how you learn. That's how you live. That's how you enjoy every moment, even the down times. So definitely, you know, Jim Morrison, one of my bigger influences, says, you know, this is a playground, not a prison yard. So play a little bit more.
How powerful is that? And Kim Michaels, that is one of the predominant messages in your work, is that we've got to laugh more, develop a sense of humor, and get away from this seriousness. And you know, I see that in you, Ben. When I first met you and when I just saw you on the screen, you appear to be serious in your tone of voice, but there is this ironic kind of playfulness and this childlike honesty that you just put out there that I absolutely love, and I think that that's what people connect with, is the heart and spirit.
Yeah, the band keeps me young.
Well, you are young, forever young, and I am so honored and so grateful that you drove all the way out here to be with us live on Divine Love Talk. Can't wait to have you back the next time that you're in town. And Kim, I'm so happy to have you back. Kim Michaels at Transcendence Toolbox. You can find Ben Stewart on Facebook at Ben Stewart, and Hierosonic. How do you spell it?
Hierosonic.
Check him out and check out Kymatica. Thank you for joining us today on Divine Love Talk on CRN with Dr. Parthenia Grant.